The full home mobility routine is here. Hey everyone, my name is Brandon. I'm a biomechanics specialist and I love helping drummers move and play drums pain-free. And ultimately, I want you to play drums forever. What I found is I found this video I recorded several years ago from my gym, Strata, that goes into the detail of a home mobility routine that's extremely accessible. You don't need any tools to get started. It's not yoga, it's not stretching, it's contraction based, and it'll actually teach you how to keep all of your results. So please enjoy this video. Please try the routine. I've outlined everything in there. This is not just for drummers. This is for any musician, anybody that wants to feel great, and please enjoy. If you have any questions, leave them below and I'll be happy to address them.
This is Brandon from Strata, and what I want to do with you is I want to share some immediate mobility tips that you can implement immediately. Now, you've probably heard me talk about this crazy thing called post-activation potentiation. And if you don't know what that is, no problem. But there's this amazing phenomenon that if you contract your skeletal muscle and you don't fatigue it and you don't cause pain, it can improve in its ability to contract for numerous reasons. One of the reasons why this is amazing is your skeletal muscle, like ropes, as it gets better at producing tension, can pull and move your body further and further, right? Muscles on one side of your joint can pull you into the position while other muscles will let you go there. If you're looking to improve mobility, I would suggest one, be careful of stretching and rolling outside of your comfort zone. They're very effective means and lots of people have used them to help with pain and mobility, but what I would suggest for you is try to use a more active approach. Active range of motion and active contractions. If I asked you to paint a boat and you went up and you painted this boat, but as you were painting the boat, I came along and went, no, that's not very good. And I grabbed the outside of your hand and I painted the boat for you with your hand in mine. And then I went, look at the boat that you made. You didn't actually make the boat. You passively made the boat through my hand. So here's the thing, you're better off to practice active strategies to get stronger. So much more than having someone push you or move you into a position, even yourself, right? Stretching passively. If you teach your body how to contract in these positions, you can actually create long-term functional and anatomical changes so your body actually remembers how to contract there. So what I'm going to show you today are a series of movements that are kind of a paint roller approach to stimulating the entire body that I've handed out at presentations and so forth. And some of you will recognize some of these exercises from paperwork that we've handed out at the gym. But today I'm going to do them myself, and let me know if you have any questions. Now, for all of these, I will say this, I'm going to show you two versions of almost all of them, but if you get into a position and you're cramping or you're sore, try reducing the range of motion significantly or try to reduce the forces. But the key is about two things here, is you're trying to push your body into something, and then second is trying to feel some of those muscles. There are some other parameters that we're going to go over, but I'll talk about those more as we get into this. All right, everybody, so the post-activation potentiation exercises. Now, there are two components to this that I'm going to touch on quickly before we jump in. One, I'm going to show you introductory versions. So if you're someone who has some pain or feels as though you're more sensitive or want to take it easy at first, I'll show you those options, and then I'll show you the more advanced options. Now, the real question is, and that's the second point, is how hard should you push? So a good friend of mine, Charlie McMillan, developed this scale. Now, these circles, as you can see here, there are numbers below them, right? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Number 1 is 5% effort. Number 2 is 25%. 50% is number 3. 75% and 100%. What I would ask you to do is to start on the lighter end of this continuum and apply only 5% or 25% effort to try to feel those muscles. If you feel like it's way too easy, move up to 50% and then 75%. For today, I'm not going to recommend that we access 100%, only because when we get to 100% and we're holding it for 5 seconds like we're going to try to today, 100% for 5 seconds is a very long time, and this turns more into a workout than it turns into a mobility enhancement strategy. If you want to check, and I'll show you as I'm going through this, check some active range and motion as you're going through it, and I'll do it for some of the larger joint motions so you can see how there are some differences even within a few seconds. So to start off, try and stick to just 5% or 25% effort. Now, here's the thing. How do you know how much that is? So what I want you to do is take a fist, I want you to squeeze your hand, and I want you to create enough tension in there that you call it 5%. Now that's a weird one. Now if you don't know where to start, squeeze as hard as you can. So if you squeeze as hard as you can, that is 100%. Now try to back off to 75%, so just a little less hard. Then 50%, then 25, and then 5%. And try to run through that 5%, 25%, 50%, 75%, 100%, and try to get some competency or sensation rather as to where you are on the continuum with your hand. Now this will be totally different for all these other body parts, especially when we have greater amounts of torque as we go through this with some of the bigger motions, but give it a shot and try to see where you're at. As you start to practice this over time, you'll develop a strong competency as to, oh, that was 50%, oh, that was 100%, and we'll talk about that more as we're moving forward, but try to pick 5% or 25% and only push up to 50 or 75% if you find it super easy. Okay, that's enough talking. Let's jump in. Now the first one and the majority of these, minus the second one, are going to be performed standing. So I'm going to apologize because I'm going to try and talk to the camera like this, then I'm going to move away so you can see what my whole body is doing, and I'll describe it. I've got the lavalier mic on, so everything should sound perfect. The first one that we're going to do is actually going to be very simple. It's just a calf raise. Now, on the very, very introductory level of this, if you want to do this seated, you absolutely can, but fundamentally it's the same thing. So what I want you to do is you're going to find something to put your hands against, and all I want you to do is to go up onto your tippy toes, hold it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then come back down. Now some people might find that they're susceptible to cramping, and that's totally fine if you are. Extreme ranges of motion and very short approximation of skeletal muscle can turn into a cramp very easily if there's some issue going on. So what I would suggest you do is don't go as high, and then I'll describe the more advanced version. So introductory version, try to stand on your toes for 5 seconds. If you have a hard time with that, no problem. But what I do want you to try and do is go to whatever height you can, hold it for 5 seconds, try to feel the muscles on the back of your legs, and that's going to be it. Now, there are 2 versions for the more advanced version that will both work out just fine. One, you can actually do 1 foot at a time, which is very simple. It looks like this. Switching to 1 foot and holding that for 5 seconds. The other one is actually a little bit more complicated because I can't visually show it to you, but what I'm going to do is on that scale, I'm going to go up into a calf raise, and I'm going to try to lift myself up with 50 or 75% effort, as high as I possibly can, really, really squeezing that tissue. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I would recommend leaning against something, which is one of the reasons why I've got the machines here, because if you lean against something for this one and all the other ones, and make sure that balance is not a part of the equation. So 2 feet at a time, seated or standing on introductory level. For more advanced folks, try to do 1 foot or go really high effort, 50 or 75%, not 100 yet. If you find 5 seconds too long, 3 seconds is fine for this one, but avoid the cramps, avoid pain, and avoid fatigue. So the first one we're going to do is we're going to work on dorsy flexion. Now dorsy flexion is this lifting up your foot motion, and on the introductory side of things, you can be seated in a chair or seated down on a pad like I am, wherever you want to be. You can even do it standing. Basically, it's a calf stretch, but I would recommend that you have your knee bent so that way you don't feel your calf get involved too much. We have a large bundle of muscles on the front of the shin called the dorsy flexors, and there's tibialis anterior, extensor hallucis longus, extensor digitorum longus, and amongst many others. So what I want you to do on the introductory level, and again, positioned wherever you like. The only key is 2 things. Have your knee slightly bent. So what I want you to do is be seated like so or in a chair. Take your toes, lift your feet up towards your shins, and hold that for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now we're going to repeat that 3 times for right now. So all the way up and squeeze. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are trying to feel these muscles in the front of your shin. And as you work on this is a harder range to see. You'll see that your range of motion in the front of your ankle will increase slightly. Now the more advanced version does require you to push into something. And you can use your hands, and if you can't really quite reach there because of flexibility issues, you can use yoga block. That's totally fine. What I want you to do is sit kind of like so with your legs turned out, pull your feet back towards you, take your hands, now you're going to push your hands into the top of your feet. Now as you're pushing into the top of your feet, you're going to basically try to push your feet back down. And what that's going to do is if you push back into your hands with your feet, you're going to start feeling a contraction that's more focused on the front of the shins. So same thing, very lightly, 25% effort, push back to the hands. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Get out of the position and repeat that 3 times. For number 3 and 4, I'm going to do at the same time. One is for quads and one is for hamstring. Now, as far as introductory goes, all I want you to do is just move a little bit forward and don't go into the full extreme of range of motion. Extreme range of motion is where you're going to have a lot more effort, and we'll describe that for the more advanced folks. So I'll do them both at the introductory level, and then I'll do them both at the advanced level. So if I come back to my support system here, again, making sure that I'm leaning against something, what I want you to do for the quad is pick one leg at a time. You're going to extend your knee slightly so you feel some tension in the front of your thigh, and bring your leg just slightly forward so you feel that contraction increase, and hold that for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Again, so it's knee extended, feel some tension, a little tightness, thickness in the front of the leg, bring your leg forward, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The hamstring one is equally as simple. All I want you to do is, again, lean against something, bend your knee back all the way till you feel some tension in the back of your leg here, and hold that for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you feel like a cramp's coming on, don't go as far. Just go a little bit and go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Great. Now, if you're on the more advanced side of things, instead of pushing harder, we're going to go into a greater position. So we're going to shorten ends of muscle. So for the quadricep one, we're going to lock the knee. I want you to bring your leg as far forward as you possibly can and feel that same tension in the front. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. With this one, I can actually demonstrate with you if I do it myself. 2, 1. If I do the same position, you can see that I'm actually increasing in range of motion without increasing my effort at all, because my muscle is getting better at producing force and pulling me further. Now, the second one, number 4, is the hamstring one for the more advanced people. So bend the knee, try to feel some of that tension in the hamstring, then push your leg back behind you without moving your back too much to feel that increased contraction. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, for all of these, try not to move like I did at the very end there. Again, if you feel like you're cramping, back off of the position and try to come back a little bit. Let me know how it goes. Okay, now the final 3 are all kind of correlated. One for sure, and the other 2 are my indirect way of trying to work on one side of your back at a time. So the first one we're going to do is rotary torso. So what you're going to do is you're going to stand nice and tall, arms are going to be in front of you, and you're going to turn your torso, not just your shoulder blades, turn your torso into something, and then you're going to try and push into something. So if I do that over here, using this pad, my arms are long in front of me, I'm turning my arms, turning my torso I should say rather, and once I get to the pad, I'm going to start pushing into the pad and try to turn further. On the very light end of things, I'm going to push with just 5% effort because there's a lot of torque here. So turning my trunk, meet an object, keep trying to turn into the object, but the object is stopping me. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Introductory level, stay away from extremes of motion. Now you might be someone who's more robust, but you might have a history of back problems. That's fine. If you're someone who's on the more advanced side of things, that's fine, but if you've got a history of back problems, only go about 10 to 15 degrees and try to feel the muscles in your midsection rather than pushing too far. Going to end range of motion with spinal pathologies can be unfun, so stay to that small range. Now if you're more advanced, you're going to do the exact same thing with your feet together, arms out in front, but you're going to turn your torso as far as you can. So what I like to do with this one is, instead of getting too close to the object, I'll turn my torso to see how far I can go, and then once I'm there, I'll move closer to the object to turn into the pad using my max amount of range of motion. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. One thing that you can see here, I'm going to try and demonstrate to my right, is if I stay here, I'll stay nice and tall. If I stay here and I turn my torso as far as I possibly can, you can probably see how far that I'm turning. If I do the same little system over here, now I know I've moved, it's not going to make it super accurate, but I turn, meet my extreme range of motion, push into the pad, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Even one of these potentiation strategies can actually help me increase range of motion quite a bit without moving my hips. Got a 15 to 20 degree carryover just by doing it a little bit. So next one we're going to do is hip flexion for lower abdominals, if you will, and hip flexors. I'm going to stay a little closer to the camera so you can see it a little bit. Now, if you want to stay on the introductory side of things and try to reduce the amount of stress, all I want you to do is stand, lean against an object, pull your leg up, and try to feel that contraction in the front of your leg a little bit and hold it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. one. This is a great one because most of us do this range of motion when we're getting in and out of a car. Second, the more advanced, more challenging version is the same thing, leaning against an object, bring your leg up all the way, and then put your hand on the top of your thigh and try to push your thigh down. The leg weight, along with your hand pushing down, is pretty intense, even if you're pushing with just 25 or 50% effort. The last and final one is hip extension. Now, this one is traditionally done for glutes, but we're going to try and get both your glutes and your lower back, and I'll show you what I mean. When I show you this, I want you to reach back with one leg. If you don't have a history of back problems, I want you to reach back all the way and let your back extend a little bit so you feel your erectors on the lower back. If you do have a history of lower back problems, or you want to stay on the introductory side of things, don't let your back move at all and focus on just squeezing your glutes. So again, I'll stay right nice and close so you can see. What I want you to do is you're going to take your leg, you're just going to reach your leg behind you on the introductory end and try to feel your glute contract as much as you can. Try to squeeze it voluntarily and make it full. I find when most people try to squeeze their glutes, they just squeeze their glutes together and try and smush everything in. I actually want you to try and squeeze it on the outside and try to feel fullness all the way out. Now, if you're someone who's more advanced and or you don't have a history of back problems, do the same thing, but let your back extend a little bit. You'll find that you can feel your glutes a little bit more and get your lower back. So from here, all the way back, and let that extension happen and squeeze, and then come all the way back. For all of these, the positions are not important. I've already said this. These are not protocols. It's more about trying to stimulate your entire body. If you've got other positions that you've been working on, add those in. But this is intended to be a baseline paint roller approach to potentiation to stimulate your whole body. Let me know how this worked for you. And if you have any suggestions of other things I can give you like this, let me know. Listen, there's a couple rules, right? 1, go slow. 2, focus on contracting. 3, I want you to repeat all of these 3 times for 5 seconds if it's possible. If you're feeling like it's too easy, go for 5. But then I need you to avoid 1, pain, and 2, cramping. And 3, fatigue. If you experience any of those, stop completely and leave alone. We want to make sure that for this motor learning phenomenon, we're not tiring you out and we're not hurting. Now, as I mentioned earlier, if any of these movements hurt, try to decrease the motion and feel them in the targeted areas. And if you can't, leave it alone. It's totally fine. These are more of a paint roller approach. They're not really how I like to do things, but it gives you a lot of tools that you can do at home and start practicing. Now, do you need to do these exact movements? No, these are not protocols or you have to do them this way. These are procedures that I like to use, and they're a great place to start. So if you have other areas that you've worked on with your specialist or other people in your world, like your neck, your toes, whatever it may be, implement those. It's all about contracting and trying to work on seeing if you contract, do you get more motion? And if you don't, actually right now that's fine. But it's about just getting your muscles to contract better. Anyway, this is Brandon from Strata. I want all of you exercising pain-free. Let me know how it goes.
Drumming pain-free. I want you all exercising, moving, and drumming pain-free. Anyway, enjoy.